Welcome to the Catalyst. We're so glad that you're joining us today. I'm your host, Marcus Robinson, joined by
I'm G. George.
And I'm
Pastor
Kyle
G.
B.
George.
we got, like I said, we got an exciting show for you today. But we want to cover a couple of things before we get started. What we like to do, first of all, is for you to get connected with us. And you can do that by joining our social platforms. And that is Instagram, that is
Facebook,
that is
Twitter,
and then also YouTube. So don't forget to go ahead and subscribe, click, follow, do whatever you got to do to get
and
connected
how do
with
they
us.
find that? What do
Like-
they type
Yeah,
in?
don't worry. I'll have it at the bottom of the screen so you
Yeah,
guys can
like
have
us
that
on those
info.
pages. Go
No,
to
that's
Instagram,
actually pretty good right there,
uh,
Kyle. I'm really
and
appreciative.
Facebook and like us.
Yes, absolutely.
The Catalyst.
The Catalyst. And so also we like to give you our perspectives here, right? And there's a couple of perspectives that we like to give you. We like to give you the worldly perspective, and that covers basically what the world has to say about a topic. And what about our personal perspective? What does that personal perspective do there,
That's how
George?
we view it. That's our own personal perspective in contrast or along with the worldly perspective.
And then we also have our what?
We have a godly perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what does our godless perspective cover?
I mean, we just go to the scriptures and we go to, we tie in our personal life through also scriptures and
Yep.
how the Bible's affected us on these topics.
Yeah,
How
that's good.
how God sees it.
And how God sees it.
And
Yeah,
how
not
God sees it.
necessarily just the scriptures, but our personal relationship with God
And how
Amen.
he-
Yeah.
and how He speaks to us
Exactly.
on how to handle these topics.
Okay, so like I said, we got an exciting show, and we're going to be talking today about social media ambiguity. Basically, what we're going to be talking about is it the same as it used to be? Is it the same way now? So back in the days, social media was a big part of how we communicate with one another. And then we trying to figure out, has it changed over the time? As time began, it was a way of just communicating by text, email, just different platforms. I mean, MySpace and those type of social platforms. But has it changed? Is it different? And so we're going to be kind of getting involved into that kind of aspect of it. But what we like to do, we like to give you our definition of whatever it is that we're covering. And today's definition, we're going to be talking about social media. And it reads, the definition of social media is forms of electronic communication, such as websites for social networking and microblogging, through which users create online communities to share information, ideas, personal messages, and other content such as videos. So we live in that day and age where everything is starting to change. Everything is starting to be a little bit different in our lives. And we just want to know, is social media doing just that? Is the news outlet part of social media now?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I think that was the very first social media.
Exactly. I don't even think that people actually know that the news is actually one of the biggest social media platforms that's out there. And now we're dipping into a little bit of a politics and stuff and whatnot. So we're going to be asking a couple questions to our panel, because our panel is very knowledgeable about everything. And I'm telling you, if you can just like, if you can get there and you can tap into their brains, I'm telling you, you'll learn something that's new and fresh. Okay. So we're going to ask this question. We're going to go a little further because we can kind of feel that social media is that definition. You guys agree that definition is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's just a definition.
It's just
you
a
know.
definition, right? Okay, so let me ask you this. Well, okay, you got
I
something?
was going to
Okay.
say I agree that that's how the world sees it. That's what
Yes,
it is. Yeah.
that's exactly what we're looking at. We're looking at the world perspective about it. And so I got a question. In the last 10 years or so, what is the major change that you've seen from the world's perspective of social media?
I mean, I think I've barely been using social media for 10 years. 26 years old. I think I had, MySpace. I've seen it change drastically because for us it was just about, your MySpace, your top 5, top 8, whatever it was in those days.
Mm-hmm.
And then now social media, I see everything towards, business and how all these people are making money online. And Facebook is now it's the number 1 marketing tool for businesses for online, selling products online, etc. The number 2 is Instagram. So social media is business. It's not just communicating with people anymore. It has everything to do with the livelihood of your finances as well, or it could be.
So you say this?
I've definitely seen it. You can't. For most people who don't know that, you can change your settings on Facebook to get rid of ads. But if you don't have that, usually you log on to Facebook, you get ad after ad after ad. This business, that business, selling this product, doing this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's social media is just it was a platform to communicate.
Yeah,
Now
originally.
it's a platform to sell.
Yeah, to actually promote yourself.
Yeah.
What do you think, George?
Um,
Or sorry, G. George.
there's been a lot of major changes
Okay.
since I've been on social media. Like we said, to me, the news was media, but it didn't become social until they started having Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and so now. Where the social aspect of that comes in, gentlemen, is now we can interact in that through blogs, through BA comments, the comment sections where we can actually talk back to the news and give our input. Social means an interaction between two or more people.
Yeah.
And so now, from that aspect, I believe it has evolved. And so in the last 10 years, it says, what are the major changes that we've seen? Well, again, that us being able to directly interact, for one, and then two, it's become a tool. It's become a tool for everyone. I use my social media platform as a tool to communicate. I use it as a tool to receive communications.
Yeah.
And so, yes, it's changed immensely. And actually, I don't even know if change is the right word, because
It didn't evolve.
it's evolving. Exactly, Marcus. It continues to evolve. And where we're at today, we're not going to be here tomorrow or in the future, because this is going to change even more. It has.
Okay, so
it
that's a
it
good
has
prop.
made the world smaller.
This is a good prop then for that. This is a good little insert here. So you say 10 years from ago, but what about 10 years from now?
Well,
Where do you see it 10 years from now? Do you see it changing or evolving in something even deeper?
I mean,
or can it even be even deeper than that?
It all depends on just, technology is just rapidly growing, right? I mean, look at this desk. We all are using, there's not even a pen and paper anymore. We're just using cell phones for our notes, cell phones for everything. So it's like the cameras can see it, all of these digital devices. Every one of these digital devices, you've got emails, that's social media, you've got Facebooks, you've got Twitters, you got everything. How it's going to evolve, maybe we're going to have it on our glasses soon. I don't know. Maybe we can just scroll through Facebook and it goes directly to our face on our lenses. They already have Snapchat.
That's some
glasses.
Black Mirror type stuff
It's
right
weird
there.
though. They have the Snapchat glasses where you can just walk around and go on Snapchat and you can snap whatever you're seeing. People can see you live time or something with glasses. What?
Well, and that's funny you should mention that, Kyle, because
Kyle Lemaine.
Yeah, because listen. I know people that do like this and get social media right on their wristwatches.
Yeah. The Apple Watches.
Yeah.
The Android watches.
Yeah.
Apple, Android, everything.
So it's
has
evolving
changed.
all the time.
It's constantly evolving.
all the
So we
time.
definitely would be evolving in the next 10 years,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
further than what we say.
Right.
Okay, so
Exactly.
if that's the case, then if it's going to be evolving or it has evolved, is social media good or bad in itself?
I actually
From the world's view now, this is from the world view. Do you think that the
yeah.
world sees it as a bad, social media as being bad?
Well, I think that the world is just very much left or right-winged people, and I think it just depends on the eye of the beholder, whoever is viewing it. I had a very bad experiences with social media, so I actually, just from personal reasons, I look at social media, sometimes it's kind of a bad thing because the world is kind of always out to get you. But social media is a necessity for life now. Technology is growing too crazy.
It is.
Cars are growing, houses are growing, people are evolving and changing. We have to have these things now, unless you're living off the land somewhere in Alaska or in some other country. It's just a necessity. I think it's a great thing.
Okay.
I think the world sees it as a great thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Real quick, what do you think? What do you think, real quick, about is it a good or bad thing?
I think
From the world's view.
I think it depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that don't blog. There are a lot of people that don't like Facebook. There are a lot of people that don't like email. But those same people that don't like that aspect of social media, they probably got, if you got a later model car and you have an accident or you run out of gas somewhere or you get lost, without social media in that car, piped directly to your car, you could be caught in a situation. Social media has changed people's life to the point where I've seen social media actually save lives. Just a quick example of that. There was a lady who went off the freeway, lost control of her car, went off the freeway, couldn't reach her cell phone, but OnStar told them exactly where she was.
Yeah.
And luckily they found her. I've seen people trapped in incidents, but they don't necessarily like social media. That's an aspect of it. It depends on, to me, gentlemen, who you ask, is it good or bad? I think it's both, and I think it's I consider it as a necessary evil because it is mostly a lot of times used for negativity and attacks.
Yeah.
But we also need it for the essential things of life.
Okay. Hey, good. So what we're going to ask you to do, go ahead and comment and let us know what you think.
Yeah,
Is
we wanna
social
hear from
media
you guys.
changing, or is social media actually good or bad? We would definitely want to hear from you. So we're going to come back, and when we come back, we're going to give you our personal perspective on what social media is all about.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. Next time on The Catalyst.
My issue is I also can take flirting a little too far.
Okay.
Right? So for me and my wife, we have a real strict rule. My wife doesn't even like me looking.
It's the difference between undressing a woman and actually sleeping with the woman in your thought pattern.
Okay. Again, my end result is flirting with you for some specific personal gratification.
All right, guys, welcome back to The Catalyst.
Thank you for joining us.
I'm your host, Marcus Robinson, joined by
G. George.
and
Kyle B.
all right, so we've been talking about social media ambiguities. Is it the same as it used to be? So we're going to be dabbing into our personal perspective right now, and we have been talking about like the social media from the world's perspective. Is it the same or has it changed? And the panel so far said that from the world's perspective, it has changed over time, and not just necessarily changed. It has started to evolve. It didn't started to take on its new shape. So now we're going to be giving from our personal perspective, and I want to ask this question to our panel. I'm going to go with George here first. Is social media still what it was originally designed for? Is it like still set for just real quick like Facebook? Like Facebook was designed for study hall. Is it the same?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Again, we're talking about it evolving. Social media, from my understanding in the beginning, was supposed to be just what it was, social, meaning contact between two or more people. It's evolved way more than that. Now, you don't just see two or more people communicating with each other anymore. Companies use social media to send out mass messages to their employers. So from that aspect right there, it's changed. Social media is no longer just an interaction on email between me and you. If I want Kyle to know what we're going to do or what we're going to talk about here on the Catalyst, I CC him or BC him or however we do it. So no, the overall. For me, the overall concept is it's designed to do what it's supposed to do, but again, that's evolved and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So, that's what I say about it, guys.
Okay. What about you, Kyle? What you think?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I mean, emails, right? Like as a little boy, like you didn't realize like emails is social media, right? And then my first form of social media I ever had was
MySpace.
I mean. Yeah, it was MySpace, but now I was just trying to think that if it was maybe like even like Xbox Live or something.
But wasn't MySpace
that's like social media too.
It's
you
like
know, if you look at that.
I mean,
isn't MySpace a social media platform?
Yeah,
but
before Facebook.
what did you have to have to set up your
an email?
An email. So email came before that.
Email and password. Yeah.
Unless you had email, it wouldn't connect you to you.
Yeah. So I mean, everything evolves, everything changes, everything grows, I think that, I think we never really know, like, when we were making wagons back in the day with those wheels, we never knew that a motor was going to come next and plastic was going to get invented
and
leather seats. We never knew that was what was coming. We never knew that we were going to put wings on an airplane and fly in the sky.
Yeah, that's good.
So for me as a little boy growing up, social media was just, who was on my top 5, whatever, on MySpace. And then we thought Facebook was for old people. When Facebook came out and our parents had it, we were like, oh, that's for old people. We didn't realize that was the next generation of what's coming next. So,
if you look at it, exactly, that's what it was.
It's definitely changed. Yeah. It's definitely changed, but I think that it's been for a lot of good changes too.
I remember, I don't want to outdate myself here, but but I remember when MySpace was actually a thing.
Yeah.
I remember it was
Well,
a
the
big
hottest thing going.
It was the
Yeah.
hottest thing going,
Right.
and my kids were like on it and loving it. I was like, okay, what is this? I mean, I'm gonna go create one just so I can go and interact with my kids. And I remember my daughter like keeping that social media like MySpace all to herself and like not letting us know what was going on.
Yeah.
Little did I know I knew the password and I found out everything that I didn't really want to know about my daughter. But I thought that now as MySpace is actually incorporated with the homework environment, which Facebook was intended for originally. It was about that college thing. Hey, you can have your homework, blah blah blah. And now that it is changing. Now, as it incorporated itself, it became a little more complicated.
Yeah.
Because of what it is.
Or sophisticated.
Oh yeah, sophisticated and complicated. Everything. I mean, because
Yeah.
everything is on Facebook, everything is on Instagram, Snapchat. But don't worry about it. Still follow us on those.
Yeah, that's right. Hit us up. Hit us up.
All right. So I would go with the next question here. What is some of the negative aspects of social media, Kyle, due to it constantly changing?
I mean, since this is the personal section of our show, like, I had really bad experiences with social media, and I believe that a lot of people, they're just out to get you. A lot of people are jealous. A lot of people want to walk in your shoes. A lot of people want to walk in their shoes, this celebrity's shoes, the president's shoes, whoever's shoes. Everybody wants to be like someone else, and as soon as somebody sees that somebody has a little more than they might have, that's where the persecution starts. That's where all the bad stuff, and everybody's waiting for you to stumble. Everybody, for me, in the business that I did was all around social media, was how I broadcasted to all my people. And it just seemed like everybody's always waiting for you to mess up so that they can say, oh, you're not the best, or you suck, or why did I do this? And then all the negative aspects of social media comes in. So that's a bad thing. What did Justin Bieber do? What did Selena Gomez do? What did Donald Trump do? And people are always looking for something wrong. On contrary to that, though, a lot of people still use it for positive things too. But I do see. Do
you see more negative than you see positive?
I see way more negative things, and the reason why I say that is because I'm really big into YouTube, and it's very rare that you ever come across a YouTube video that is not just the first 20 things like negative. I go on YouTube just to read the comments to laugh. People say the funniest things.
Yeah. I kind of like the whole YouTube on how they made the YouTube thing, but I think now because they have the dislike button, I think that didn't change the game. Or the commenting section on it where they didn't change the game too, because people actually go out there and just to go and troll as well.
Yeah, this is troll.
Yeah. So what do you think, George?
So yeah, it has a huge negative aspect to it. Number one, it's being used for surveillance. Number two, it's being used by a lot of haters, a lot of trolls, a lot of nosy people, a lot of negative people. There's what we call now cyberbullying. And that's a big thing. Actually, law enforcement has instituted laws against that. Especially for me, I was in law enforcement with school district, and we had a policy against cyberbullying. Those cyber threats are now just as valid as a physical or verbal threat. Yeah. You see people doing things like catfishing.
I was just gonna think about that. Yeah, catfish.
You see. People. I always say this. I said this before. People post to be. Do people post to be what they're supposed to be?
Yeah.
Who they're supposed to be, and they don't. Social media has become a way to have an alter ego or alter personality, and predators are using it, as well as just people trying to reach for fame. They alter. This is why we have filters. And people have these filters on their Snapchat and on their Instagram and even now on Facebook. So yeah, there's a lot of camouflaging. There's an abundance of negativity happening on social media too.
Okay, so like, is it personally for you? Personally, is it bad or good?
Well, and that's why I want to bounce off what George said. Because personally, I think it's wrong. Like on my Facebook settings, I take off all the ads. Facebook's listening to you guys, right? There's a huge thing.
Did you hear what they said about Alexa?
Oh, yeah.
Alexa's probably listening too, huh?
Because she's never off.
Yeah, exactly. So they're always.
Because you could be in the middle of like doing some Alexa,
right?
And she's like, "Hey."
And guess what? As a result of that, just this week, I'm real quick, not to cut you off. Just this week, Congress is now going to pass legislation, or they're looking to pass legislation that says Google and Amazon cannot do that without your specific, explicit permission.
And that's the thing.
Consent,
And I don't know if they're using it for negative things, because what I see that they're using it for, like Facebook's listening to you guys right now. If you don't go into your settings and change all of that, Facebook is listening to those keywords, right? Like my wife and I were talking about a ring one day. We just kept talking about ring. All of a sudden on my Facebook, all we do is see ads of rings.
Yeah.
So they're listening to you. They're out there, and I think that it's more of like
that's called surveillance.
It's surveillance.
Yeah,
and
That's exactly what it is. At its finest.
And it has it's a huge overcoming with the surveillance regarding your safety. You know, people are they're listening because they want to sell you products. They're listening because maybe they're out to find maybe a predator, or they're out to find someone who's just killed someone. I don't know, but me personally, I see a lot more bad than I see good. But I see a lot. I feel like the good can still outweigh just because I use YouTube, and that's how I listen to all my worship music.
Marcus,
so,
go ahead.
Well, that's it. So
you need
for
to
me,
jump in there, man, and let us say.
It's okay. You know, so like for me personally, I believe that social media is negative in a lot of aspects. This is because of the certain people that they didn't let in, or certain companies, or other parts of the world that they didn't let into social media. Just like, say, not just necessarily Facebook, but like YouTube, on how when people can post something, like the negative aspect of it is people doing the trolling and whatnot. But then you got into the social media where you got Facebook, where people goes on there just to post something negative about something particular, like say politics. And politics has got so far involved into social media to where it's nothing but negative, where you have to choose a side on where you want to be. And I think, like, overall, social media in itself is not negative. It's just the way of how the users use it.
Yeah.
Like you were saying earlier, it's more of if you're going to use it in the right way, or you're going to use it in the right way, it's going to be that way. Or I can go into a whole negative spew, and that's all I'm going to do when it comes to social media.
Yeah.
But when we come back, we're going to be talking about God's perspective and what God has to say about social media. Is that important to you? So I want you to go ahead and tune in. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
Next time on The Catalyst.
my issue is I also can take flirting a little too far.
Okay.
Right? So for me and my wife, we have a real strict rule. My wife doesn't even like me looking.
It's the difference between undressing a woman and actually sleeping with the woman in your thought pattern.
Okay. Again, my end result is flirting with you for some specific personal gratification.
All right, welcome back to The Catalyst.
Welcome back.
I'm your host, Marcus Robinson. I'm joined by
G. George.
And I'm Kyle Bray.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about God's perspective. We already talked about the world perspective, and we talked about our personal perspective, our personal views on it, but now it's time to jump into and give God the final say on what social media really is, right? So from my point of view about what God has to say about it, I look at it like this. Romans 12:18 says, if it's all possible and it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. So when I look at that verse, it says social media, it has to deal with social media because it's saying that we have to live at peace with one another, meaning that we have to go out and deal with other people. And especially when it comes to social media, it's a social media platform. It means that more people have to get involved with it. So I have a question for you. Like, how do you get God actually interjected into social media, George? How does God get interjected into social media?
Well, you know, God created everything, and He created us with the ability to create things. Now, what does that mean? Everything that we create something out of, God has already put here first. We're inventing devices, we're inventing social media, but God has already put the necessary materials and elements here before us, and we're taking those things and we're assembling them into something that we can use to glorify God or to degrade God.
So we're not necessarily creating, we're just putting a stamp on what it was already put in our head to do.
Yeah, God guides us, and He gives us these wonderful brains and these wonderful ideas that we, that men create, that men make. Now, how does God interject into social media? In the book of Revelations, when it talks about the two witnesses at the wall, it says after 3 days that the Antichrist is going to come in and slay them and kill them and let them lay in the street for 3 days and demand that nobody takes them, because he wants the enemy, the Antichrist, wants the whole world to see this, right? Well, how do you think that's going to be done? I believe social media. I believe cell phones. I believe our tablets. There's going to be worldwide social media. You can walk down the street in New York, in New York City without a device, and walk straight down Times Square, and there's big TVs everywhere, in store windows everywhere. Yeah. And so I believe that God it has a purpose even in God's kingdom. About social media,
especially with the vlogging. I mean, people with the vlog, you follow people around with vlogging. Like, people go and have their little cell phone and walk around and give you a picture of where they are and what they're doing.
And it's going to reach the most remote villages on God's green earth, because the word says everybody is going to see that. How is that done?
Everybody got a cell phone.
What
even the poorest has cell phones.
Right. What powers social media? Satellites.
Yeah. So what do you think, Cal? How you get God interjected into social media?
I gave my heart to Jesus through social media. I heard a song.
Wow.
That's awesome.
I like that.
I heard a song on the radio, and then I texted this girl I was seeing at the time, a pastor's daughter.
That's powerful.
And she told me the name of the song, and I went home, put it on YouTube. I fell to my knees, gave my heart to Jesus in my room.
Wow.
I didn't even know. I didn't even know what I was doing. I just, the Holy Spirit showed up. So, like, for me, amongst all, that's part of my testimony, but it's like, amongst all of the negative aspects that I've experienced through social media, most of them were my fault, and I just felt the lash of social media. But then I have to look at, through the God's perspective on it. And I mean, if God just found one person like myself, and He found me through social media, and throughout the 9 years I've been walking with the Lord, and the people that I've shared it with, and whatever they've done with that, and how many people that they could multiply from that.
Do you know how many people have come to Christ through social media? One of the earliest social media platforms that I know that God definitely approves of. Well, no, I think about Billy Graham.
Oh, Billy Graham.
And the Crusades back
when I was. You got to think about it. I mean, social media.
Millions.
Think about YouTube. And YouTube, on how many people that don't get a chance to go to church for whatever reason, those people that are lame or sick, they're in the bed, are able to listen to a message, and then that message hit them and resonate with them, and then they give themselves to Christ.
Right.
Yeah. So that kind of jumps me into the next
that lifts them out. Like that
question I said.
Great point.
Like, do you believe that God is okay in the way that the social media has evolved in, since you feel that that God plays a part in social media? So do you think He's okay with the way that it evolved already?
Oh, definitely. I think that nothing that we do surprises God.
Yeah.
So He knows what direction it's going to go. Again, those of us that know Him are going to use it to glorify Him. And those that choose not to use it to glorify Him, they have access to. Remember, the social media is controlled by the airwaves, right? The Bible also tells us that the enemy is the prince of the air. There's a reason why good Christian media doesn't get out, because it's controlled by the beast.
Right?
There's a good reason why you don't see blockbuster movies in the theaters,
miracles.
Because that would save people, that would bring people, and the enemy doesn't want that to get out. Do I believe that God is okay with social media and the way it's evolved? No, there's things that, of course, we do all the time that vexes God's and His Spirit, but it's not like He didn't know. And so He just wants us as believers, men, to do what we're supposed to do, what we're called to do.
Yeah.
Amen?
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Amen. I mean, there's nothing that's going to stop God from getting His goal. He's already won. The scripture, we've already won the battle when Jesus defeated death, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. And I think it goes hand in hand, because I mean, God must be pleased. What does the Bible say about when somebody gives their life to Jesus? Right, heaven rejoices.
Come on,
right?
come on.
So when I gave my heart to Jesus through social media, heaven rejoiced. So they threw a party for me, right? Preparing a home.
Right.
But at the same time, what do we have on here? We got an instant access to porn. We got an instant access to putting people down, cyberbullying, like you said.
God's not okay with that.
God's not okay with that. And just like George said, there's nothing that can surprise God. but that's not going to stop him from getting his goal.
Yeah. Amen. Amen.
Right?
Amen.
And you know, maybe today it doesn't happen, but maybe tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Because for 18 years God was tugging on my heart and I didn't know. It took 18 years for me to find one song on the radio to go to watch the video on YouTube to give my heart to him.
Yeah.
So it's all in his time and you know.
Yeah, and if anybody had an opportunity not to believe Kyle, and I know our audience doesn't know your story, you would have been that person because you came up rough.
Oh yeah, I mean
that's awesome.
But that's the way that I believe that how God gets His glory.
Yeah.
You know, and especially through that because He can use anything, anywhere, and then He can use anybody.
Yeah. What the world means for bad, God means for good. Come on.
So God uses all devices in order to get across His point and to make His will happen. So do you believe that Christians have a platform to speak the gospel freely, or is it been kind of smothered by what the world has to say about it? Yeah, Kyle, I'm gonna give that to you.
I mean, I'm gonna go to saying absolutely we have a platform to speak. I mean, I think unless you're in a predominantly maybe Muslim country where you know if you post anything, you know, and a lot of these Muslim countries they have to put on their ID what their religion is, so they have to declare whether they're Christian or they're Muslim or you know whatever other religions that country has. And if they were to post and you can't change your religion if you're Christian, you're Christian. If you're Muslim, you can't convert from Muslim. And then if you're posting things on social media, they're going to come to your house and kill you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's a real thing that's happening right now.
Yeah.
Every single day they're being persecuted for it.
Yeah,
so,
even China.
Even China. I believe that it just depends on probably what country. It depends on how you're getting brought up.
All over the world.
But I mean, you know, God carried a cross and, you know, he was crucified on a cross for us. You know, and it's like, I don't, so Jesus told us to pick up your cross and follow me. So if you have a platform to speak on it, you should be speaking on it, even if maybe your life is in danger, because that's exactly what God told us, is that the enemy is coming to rape, kill, and destroy, right? To pillage.
Kill,
so
steal, and destroy.
Yeah.
What do you think, George?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question because, you know, social media is a big part of my ministry. We have me and my wife, we run an online ministry, United World Church, without walls. We have the Son of Life ministry, and we minister through the World Wide Web. Like you said, Matthew 28:18-20 says, go out into all the world and all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, teaching them all the things that I've commanded you, and lo, I am with you always.
I love that last part.
Even into the end of time. And so what he's saying is go out into the world and make disciples. Guess what, gentlemen? The World Wide Web has become a part of our world. It has created a way for us to reach Christ, for folks to share and reach Christ in a way that was not good. But remember this: the enemy is going to try to stifle that. But you know what? Hey, we're not to be worried with that. We're to be obedient to God and do what He says for us to do. Go ahead.
That's
Marcus.
correct.
Yeah.
All right. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to get into a part of the show, a little segment of show, what we call the end of the day. And what we do, we summarize everything that didn't happen and everything that we didn't kind of talked about. And we can give you the worldly perspective on what the world says about this topic, on how social media is the same in businesses, personal, you use it in any kind of way that you want, and it has evolved over the years. And we can give you our personal perspective on what happened, like Kyle was saying that it happened in his life, and Georgian said kind of like what didn't happen in his life, and then also what I've had in my life when it comes to social media. But now when we got to the God's perspective, we showed you how God uses anything and everything and anybody to get His will across, His point of view, so to speak, across, so people can hear about who He is. Because ultimately, that's the ultimate goal, is to seek and save what is lost. And God would do just that in anybody and everybody's life. Okay? So I just want to give this out to you, this charge to you. If you want to comment and if you want to just give us any kind of feedback, definitely let us know what you think about the show, what you think about the topic, because it's very important to us to know, has it touched in your life? Has it did like Kyle and where he got saved from social media? Because God wants you to know that He loves you. So at the end of the day, it's up to you. It's your choice. I'm Marcus Robinson.
I'm G. George.
I'm Kyle Bray.
And we're signing off on the Catalyst.
See you next time.
See you next time.